This is Charlene, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Southern Gal's Kitchen. We're going to make a really special Southern dessert today, but we're going to lighten the load on it. We're going to make it a little healthier and about half the sugar, but it's still going to taste fabulous. We're going to make a hummingbird cake that's healthier, better for you, and you're going to love it. So join us, and we'll get started here in just a minute. To make this cake, a Southern hummingbird cake is a really special Southern dessert. Southerners love it. I think everybody loves it. It's a pretty sweet cake, and it generally is made with all-purpose flour and 2 cups of sugar, which is a lot of sugar. Well, then it also has your bananas and pineapples and nuts, and I'm going to put all that good stuff in there. But I have used 2 cups of white spelt and 1 cup of all-purpose einkorn. Now let me show you something about when you measure your flour. Really aerate it, fluff it up, because the lighter the flour is, the less of it you're going to have in your cup. When you just dump and measure, you can get way too much flour. And I've showed you this on bread making, but just sift it in. Sift it in. I've already sifted this in, but sift it in. And it really lightens it up. And it makes you... Then you can just level off the top with a knife, back of a knife. But you'll get the right amount of flour and it won't be too heavy that way. So keep that in mind with your flour. So we have 2 cups of white spelt. White spelt has all the bran removed, but it's going to make a lighter cake that way. But the reason I use spelt, it is an ancient grain. It's easier for most people to digest, including me. I have more trouble with AP flour. A lot of people are turning to the ancient grains. So I did 2 cups of the white spelt and 1 cup of all-purpose einkorn, which has about 20% of the bran removed, but the rest of it's in there. So it's still going to have some nutrition. And for the sugar, instead of 2 cups of sugar, as you watch my shows, I always use half sugar and half sweetener. I keep it mixed up in a container. This is the brown. I keep the brown and the white both. I use cane sugar, but it's half sugar, half sweetener. It's still 2 cups, but it's really 1 cup of sugar. So you've cut that sugar in half here too. So we're going to start blending these together. 1 teaspoon of salt that we're going to add in here. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And just a little bit of grated nutmeg, not too much. I don't like too much nutmeg, but I like a little bit. You can use different spices if you want to, but that's the kind I kind of like the best. Get these out of the way. And then on top of that, I'll just kind of give you the ingredients. We have 3 eggs back here that are well beaten. I've already beaten. And we have 1 1/2 cups of a vegetable oil. You can use safflower. You can use whatever kind of vegetable oil that you like that doesn't have a flavor. Olive oil might have too much flavor in it, so I stay away from that in this. We have 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract we're going to put in. We have 2 cups of mashed bananas. They need to be really ripe, and then mash them up with a fork. We have 8 ounces of crushed pineapple, and it's drained really well. I let it drain quite a bit. And then we have 1 cup of toasted walnuts cut in pieces, chopped toasted walnuts. And I have my pan that I like to butter it, melt butter and butter it and flour it. You can use the spray, but it's going to give it a little bit of taste. I did just spritz it right after I got there just to make sure it's not going to stick. But I really like the butter and flour the best. Got my oven preheated to 350, so it's ready to go. I'm going to mix up my flour, my baking soda, and my salt, cinnamon. Just get those really mixed up. Make sure there's no lumps in there. And the sugar's in there too, so really mix that up well. And then we're going to start adding in our eggs and our other ingredients. Once you get everything out, this is an easy cake to put together. But you do have several ingredients here, obviously, to get out. But oh, it's such a good cake. It's just such a good cake. You are going to love this version of it. If you want a little healthier version, take a fork and mash some of that sugar out. Lower sugar, that's still going to be really good. It's a little extra nutrition with that einkorn in it. And also, easier to digest because Einkorn and Spelt are both lower in gluten, and it's a different kind of gluten structure. So it's going to be easier for most people to digest. Now, if you're celiac, you still can't have it, but it's a lot easier to digest than modern wheat, which I personally have trouble digesting. You can mix this without a mixer. You don't need a mixer to do it, but you do want all those lumps out of that sugar. Get my hands in there and mash them out really well. We're going to take our oil and our eggs, and we're going to mix those together. It's just a real easy way to do this cake. No mixer required. And I'm going to kind of beat those around. So I'm just going to blend the oil with the eggs and get that in there. Kind of blend it up together really well. And we'll add that in. Then we'll stir this around. Sort of blend it up. That's all we've got to do is just blend it. Then we'll add in our 2 cups of mashed bananas, our 8 ounces of crushed pineapple that's been drained, and our cup of toasted walnuts. That's really all there is to this cake. Once you get everything measured out, and I like to get everything out and ready before I bake anyway. Kind of double check my recipe, make sure I have everything I need before I start mixing. And measure it out, and then it's just easy to put it together. You just stir this up with a spoon. You want it well mixed. You do want that flour incorporated in there. Just kind of stir it around. But it isn't necessary to use the mixer. In fact, I think a mixer sometimes makes this kind of cake a little tough anyway. It's better, kind of like muffin batter. It's better just to stir it by hand sometimes. Different cake batters are different. This is a dense kind of, heavier kind of cake, but it's delicious. So delicious. You're going to love it, love it, love it. I think your family. We're going to add in our vanilla, our pineapple, and our bananas. Now, some people say, the bananas, they'll say, 4 medium or whatever, but, this took a lot more than that because we're going about 2 cups. Some bananas are larger than others. I had medium. But these were absolutely the worst bananas I ever bought. I had to go back and buy some more. They had more bruises on them. I like really ripe. You want them really ripe. Look like that, speckled and brown. But you don't want it all bruised completely on the inside. The ones I bought were not even like that because they didn't have any speckled ones. And I bought some 3 or 4 days ago, so I let them wrapping up. But when I went to open them, oh my, they were just the worst bananas ever. They were so bad. So I had to throw a lot of that away and go buy some more bananas. So just go for 2 cups because if you're cutting bad places off your bananas and things like that, it's going to be different. Different amounts of bananas you'll have to buy. So go with the 2 cups, mash them up, measure them. But the riper they are, really the better they are in banana bread and hummingbird cake and things like that. Now, a lot of times you make hummingbird cake, and I do, in 3 layers, or in 2 layers, or in a sheet pan. But the 3 layers, you put the cream cheese icing. Again, I'm trying to cut down on the sugar and the carbs, so I'm doing this in a bundt cake pan, and all I'm going to do is just drizzle, and I mean drizzle, a little bit of cream cheese icing over the top. I'm going to make up the smallest amount of icing, a little tiny bit of cream cheese and butter, and just kind of stir them together. Powdered sugar, and then I'm going to thin it down so it'll be kind of a glaze. I'm going to spoon that glaze over the cake. You could also just do like a thin icing glaze. You can do a just powdered sugar, or you could just eat this cake plain. It's that good. It's really, really good. It is that good. Okay, we're going to pour this into our prepared pan, and like I said, bake it in a 350 oven. This is really heavy. You need one of those bowls with a spout on it. It's really heavy. You want to pour it in. And this cake is going to bake about an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes. I'll start checking it in 1 hour. Our cake is now out of the oven, and it just smells and looks amazing. What I did here for the frosting, I took about a 1/4, or maybe a little more than a 1/4, package of the 8-ounce cream cheese. I just cut about a 1/4, maybe a 1/3 of it off. You can use kind of what you want. And I whipped that up with 2 tablespoons of softened butter, not melted, just softened. And I added about a third to a half cup of powdered sugar. You just want to make it, you want to whip it on until it's creamy. And then I added, instead of milk to make my glaze, I added the pineapples, a little bit of pineapple juice from the crushed pineapple. So it has a pineapple-y taste. And you know, you just want it where to make a glaze, where to run down the cake, but yet won't run all over the place. So you get it to kind of that consistency, where it just kind of pours, but not too bad. Then we have some more toasted, a half cup of toasted walnuts. You can use pecans. And I have a little bit of raw sugar, the raw cane sugar. And we're going to use that on the top too. So first of all, we're just going to glaze the cake lightly. Like I said, this is a lot less sugar than all that normal layers and layers of cream cheese that you put on a hummingbird cake. Those are really pretty 3-layer cakes for special occasions, and you might want to go ahead and do that and have your cream cheese, because you're not eating that every day. But I kind of like a hummingbird cake just for a weekend dessert, or even a special occasion. I would still do a bundt cake. You know, bundt cakes are pretty popular nowadays anyway. So you can still do this and just save some of your carbs, and yet it's still really, really, really good. That looks pretty glazed. It did run off a little bit, but that's okay. Got a little bit of bronchitis here. Again, I've toasted my walnuts. I'm going to sprinkle those on the top. You can also add some freeze-dried pineapple to the top of this if you wanted to. I usually have that around, and I have often put it on a cake. It's really good. It's crunchy, it's sweet, but I like the nuts on there too. And what we're going to do to give it just that little extra sweetness, and not making it overly sweet, but we're going to add just a little bit of this cane sugar, raw sugar on here. Just gives it a little extra crunch. I do this on the top of my banana muffins, and they're just really, really good. Because then I'd put them in the oven and bake it. But you can put just a little right on the top of the cake too. Just gives it that little extra something there. Now that is one beautiful cake. One beautiful cake. And again, my icing's a little bit thin, so it's running off a little more than I probably wanted it to. But it's okay. I can clean this up, and it'll be just fine. So I've already cleaned that up a little bit. I can clean up the rest. Okay, we're going to cut into a piece of this cake. This is a beautiful, beautiful, lovely to look at and lovely to taste, lovely to eat cake. You're going to love it. Can't help but love it. If you like pineapple and bananas and you like Morse cake, this is it. Look at that. Look at that beauty. I'll give this a little taste. The thing about hummingbird cake, it's like banana muffins or banana bread. Well, it's good today. It's even better tomorrow. I mean, once they set, those flavors mellow, those bananas and pineapple and that brown sugar and those nuts, everything kind of mellows together. It's just amazing after it sets. But it's pretty amazing right now. I love that banana and pineapple. I love that einkorn flour. If you don't want to use einkorn flour, just use your white flour. It'll be fine. Won't be as healthy, but I love einkorn flour and cakes like this. Just a try, and let me know if you like the updated Southern Gal Goes Healthy version of hummingbird cake. See you on the next show.